Welcome to the George FTTV YouTube channel. Today we'll discuss my round 2 trades. Who are the priority trade in targets, priority trade out targets, and what the plan is for a few future weeks. So also just discuss not just my own players or for my own team, but players that are in other teams as well. So should be good. So 2024 SuperCoach, pretty different to most years. It looks like the rookies are really good, but it looks like the expensive, the 600k mids, there's a fair few of them who are looking like they're on their way to 700. So, we've had Lockie Neal in the past, Gary Ablett, Jack McRae when he broke out. Every now and then, one of these mids just goes to an absurd level. It looks like we have multiple of them this week. And not only that, you look at Luke Ryan's, he's going nuts in defense as well. English is just sitting at 700 and Luke Jackson's going off. Jackson's a bit of a weird one because of Darcy's coming back. So I think you just had to start him and not much point jumping on now, I think. But it's a very tough year and you needed to have as many of these big gun mids as possible. And you also looks like Bont's sitting at 700 and hopefully he's all okay with the sore ankle that he had during the game. But getting to all these players, round 2 is usually the most important week in SuperCoach for setting up your team, in terms of setting up your cash gen. So we need our cash gen really good because we need to pay up for all these players. And look, they'll come down at some point. And it's only 2 games in, so these games will come out of their cycle. But I'm not sure, the midfielders I want here. So it's Steele and Crouch. We'll just wait and see. But here, and here, Butters, Merritt, Petrarca. I don't want anyone else. Maybe we can flip these to a Gold Coast mid after the bye. And I think you could argue Rao could be in that bracket. But they're the 3 I have the most confidence in, and I want all 3. Don't care about it. I'm not even going to look at anyone else for the time being. Last year my cash gen was poor. I looked at Jack Steele, I looked at Andy Brayshaw, I looked at Callum Mills for low 500s, ended up grabbing 2 of them. Andy was good. Steele struggled throughout the year, clearly was hampered. Just every second week, you didn't know what you were going to get from him. So that's the plan, and obviously without massive cash gen, we're not going to get there. So yeah, and even defenders like Houston, looks like he's sitting at 600. I mean, he can put in some bad games. Whitford's looking really good. His back half of the year was really good, and he's continuing that form. Whitford's kind of affordable now. So he might be one we look at. I'm not sure. And who else is there? Stuart Ryan and whatnot. So it's going to be pretty hard to get these players in. Regardless, we'll bring up the plan for me. So my priority ins at the moment, number 1 is Tom Powell. So already had this open, but Tom Powell, 76% CBA is 93. I think time on ground was across the 2 games, the average is 80. And it looks like he is the second mid. So obviously Wardlaw has the time on ground issues, given his body, only 70% at the moment. But it looks like these 3 are the mids. Will Phillips is in the 2s. It's pretty obvious that Clarko does not rate Will Phillips. And Lazaro, they subbed out. I thought that was very unlucky. And they can roll Simpkin through there, that senior body, if they need to. And maybe, I think Lazaro will play. They can roll him through there as well. That looks like the 5-man mid-rotation. And it looks like there's a core 3, Powell, LDU, and Wardlaw. So Powell's... have a quick look. Negative 47 break even. Really good CBAs. Really good time on ground. Starting mid-roll. Second in the rotation. How can you pass on this? It's impossible. So he's straight in. Now, is it going to work long term? Still, he's 4th year now. We'll see. But I certainly want to be on this train. So for me, he's number 1. Number 1. Number 2 is D'Ambrosio. I think he's negative 80 break even and a defender slot. So a lot of us have a Caulfield, a Reed, a Gibcus. Like Hoare is pretty dead as well. I'm not too sure. I don't know what his job security looks like going forward. Maybe plays with the defender injuries with May out for a week, maybe 2, but we'll see what happens there. So watching Massimo, it looks like he plays a bit down back and wing. Certainly was lining up a bit at half back after some centre bounces. So for me, I think he's a must. It's too damaging to have a defender scoring hundreds. Now he's not gonna average 100. He might average like 80. But he's one you can sit on your field. He'll make money. Job security's good. I think going into the season, wasn't sure if he was going to be a sub or not. But regardless, more than happy to pick Massimo, and he has to come in. So that's one we're going to look at. The next is McKercher, Sanders, Roberts. Now, because they're mids, they've put them under Powell and Massimo. But most people have Sanders. He's in 73% of teams. Roberts is only in 48%. I still think it's not too late to get him. So he's one to get. And if you're stupid like me and don't have McKercher, you have to have McKercher. So obviously, Powell, Massimo, and McKercher need to be my 3 ins this week. The problem is my defense is just destroyed, and it feels bad getting rid of a decent rookie instead of a decent rookie in the mid and forward line rather than getting rid of a dead defender rookie. So I'm actually not going to grab McKercher. Now, if you are thinking about fading McKercher, you need to get him this week. You have to get him. I'm just not getting him because it's just ruining my structure. You need to have him though, so I don't advise to do what I'm doing, but we'll get to that shortly when I do my trades. Next is these base rookies that look really good. It's pretty hard to have a dud rookie at the moment. I guess Jai Clark is potentially a dud rookie. I think Sexton, I'd like to hold Sexton just because he has a negative break even, and this game they had a lot of forward injuries and they played 4 tolls like Casbolt, Walter, Lukosius and King, where Lukosius had to play back, so I'm not sure that lasts because I think they've persisted with Luko forward for long enough now to say he's a forward, but they can swing him back if they need to. So I think Sexton returns to halfback on kick-ins. Don't really want to trade him, but if he's your worst, then I guess that's fine. So yeah, just played forward for a quarter. I understand if you want to trade him, so I'm not totally against it. I think I'm leaning hold just with a negative break even, and he has a ceiling, but like he's been okay. So like, is he definitely best 22? Not sure, to be honest. I think at least in the short term, but yeah, we'll see. And then the last one I have is Toby Pink. For me, he looks like the best or most stable defender rookie. He's playing well. He's a bit like I don't know his height, but against the gorilla key forwards, especially I think round 1 struggled a little bit, but he can intercept. He does a lot of spoiling, and North are still getting a bit of supply in that defense line. So not a lot of other players doing a lot of work in the air as well down back for North. So he is a fine trade in, and I just wish I started him over Caulfield, and I didn't, and can't do much about it. So he's not a must-have, but if you're looking for a 123k player down back and you don't have a lot of other stuff to deal with, then I would definitely swap a Caulfield, a Reed, or a Gibcus for a Pink. So I think that's fine. They're my priority trade-ins. Now, my trade-outs. The first priority is probably young and short. The players that don't look like top 6 defenders. Yeah, short has a buy as well. That are losing cash. Although we have heaps of cash this year, a lot of good rookies, we still need to pay up for these 600k players. So for me, young, short, they have terrible break even. Short could bounce back, has a buy as well, which is annoying. But you're not really sure with short. Hayden Young, it looks like the contested possession count has gone down because of Fife, Andy, and and Caleb are in there now. So yes, he's having a lot of clangers, but he's a hard watch as well. And this sort of happened at the start of last year too. He just looks like he lacks a bit of intensity, and he's clearly better than this. So I was always planning for him to be D7, M9. However, he just doesn't look good, and he's going to leak too much money. And for a D7, M9, it's too much money. So he's gone for me. Yeah, I think you could, just because he's losing so much money, 160 odd break even. The next priority, I think, is a dead defender rookie. You want to fix this, especially if you have multiple. Now, you can put it on the back burner for next week if you've got other stuff to do. But I'm not sure who's coming in to replace them. It might be Warner from Fremantle. Let's just have a look at Fremantle's injury list. I think Tom Brown as well, but I don't have a good read on Tom Brown. I just skip past it. This is a bit sharp. O'Driscoll's 1 week away. Chapman's 1 week away. Do they take Sharp's spot? Well, I think Chapman comes in. I don't know if O'Driscoll comes back in. Not sure. So concussion, Carl Warner. He could come in. Maybe Warner does come back. I don't know who. That's something we'll look at next week. When team sheets drop, we'll have a look at Frio's best 22 and see if anyone comes out for Warner, because he did play all right. That's one we'll look at next week. 3 is Grundy. I think Grundy goes before Wines and Martin. It's just the issue with Grundy is it's very hard to fix R2 when there's options everywhere for Wines and Martin. So Martin you can hold if you still believe in the pick. I probably don't, because he needs to be a top 6, top 8 defender. I'm not sure he will be that. And there's a lot of money tied into him. Like right now, mid slots, the value picks are going 120. The 600k mids the good ones are going 130, 140, and they're not going to average that for the year, but they're playing unbelievable. And it wouldn't surprise me if they average 120 plus, 125 plus even for the year. The other one I don't have is obviously Butters and Rouse there too. So there's just given up too many points in this slot. And when Redmond comes, so I think, let's look at Essendon's injury list. Ridley, 1 week. McGrath is a test. And then, what's his face is back from suspension. Redmond. I do wonder if they keep him in the role or not. I'm not too sure. But he's one... Oops, that's not the right thing to open. But he's the one that I would happily move on. I don't think his kicking's good enough to be a top 6 defender. But if you still have faith, that's fine. Wines has a lower break even. So if you have both and you want to get rid of one, I think it's get rid of Martin this week, because he has 130 break even, and Wines next week, unless you want to happy to keep Martin. But with Wines, so Horn Francis is 1 week away. Drew outperformed Wines. So they got the 3 prodigies in the midfield, Horn Francis, Rosie and Butters. And then Wines is there with only CBAs in the 60s. Let's have a look quickly. I think it was 60 something. They gave Drew CBAs when Horn Francis left. And watching Drew play, I don't know how they can take him out for Wines. I'm quite worried Wines gets shafted here. And while Wines is still good, like he's playing okay, I would be shocked if they kept his CBAs over Drew. Now it could very well happen, and maybe they're like Drew because he can play wing or whatever, whereas Wines can't really. So maybe that's what happens, but I'm kind of worried about that. So for me, not only that, Wines is not making money, so he's not a keeper. So I could have someone in the slot making money. So he's one I'm happy to move off. So next week, maybe we can wait 2 weeks on Warner. But Sam Darcy, I think, has to come in. 109 in his system, and he's a 123k rookie, 40% ruck time. I don't know if that'll happen every week, but he just looks unbelievable. And he is probably the most, I think he's the best key position forward prospect. I don't know since who, but to me, he's so tall. He's so good on the lead. He's so good on the air. He's just too good. So for me, I guess a bit injury prone, but I think he's one where I don't want to miss out. And I'd almost, in the right matchups, I probably will field him if the 40% ruck time continues. So he's one I'm definitely looking at. Could get forward. He could get ruck DPP as well. Like that could be cover for us until the bye or something. The second bye if we keep him that long. But so he's a must, I think, next week. And then Finn McRae we'll get a look at in round, as you can see here, Brisbane versus Collingwood. Listening to Craig McRae's press conference, it sounded like he was blaming, I don't want to say blaming, but he kind of put the heat on the senior players. And to me, he's speaking to Tom Mitchell and side bottom. Maybe there's someone else I'm missing there. And McRae did look better than Tom Mitchell. So I think Mitchell will be out, Finn McRae in this week. His break even's 40. We'll get a good look at him next week. Or we'll get a look at him before we even do trades. So we can sort of play around that. And there's no one really in Collingwood or Brisbane that we need to, like, I guess Lyons is playing if you go for him. But otherwise, not super relevant unless you want to trade Dacos. But he's probably not a priority list to trade out. The week after, once Grundy has his bye, he has to go. So if you still have Grundy, I don't think we can give up 3 points here, and he could be losing money as well. He's 112 break even. He has BJ Williams next week, not this week, but yeah, the week after. So he might be all right. So that's Grundy. And then in the future, Dacos after his bye. So if you don't have Dacos, I know a lot of people don't, so you want him straight after the bye. He'll be a nice price for you with his 54 in his system. And then Zach Merritt. We need to look at this run for Merritt. Round 6, what does it look like? The Crows, I think he did pretty well against the Crows last year. Collingwood on Anzac Day, their midfield's looking pretty poor. West Coast. GWS, yeah, kind of hard. North. You have to get him. What's he got next? Richmond. Oh my god. Yeah, you have to get him round 6, round 7. Just, there's no way I can sit through not owning that. So, look, I love Petrarca, but Merritt, he must come in. I dare say round 7 or round 8. I think round 6, round 7. And I don't know how we get him. I have no idea. Whatever it takes, we're going to get Zach Merritt that round. So it might be Billings money, but I kind of like Billings to hold for a long time. Just we'll see what forwards come through for us. So not really sure who to replace him with. I know he scored 69 this week, which isn't great, but the last time he played fully fit, he scored 0 games below 90 DT. I think 2 of them he got injured in mid-game. But when you take out those games, yeah, didn't drop below 90 DT. So no guarantee that repeats, of course, but I kind of want to persist with Billings, and there's a reason why I paid for Billings and didn't go to Berry. It's because Billings has got scoring history where Tom Berry does not. So we're going to stick to that. Although that extra 100k would have been fantastic for us, but we'll see how we go. Now, my own trades this week. Going to make a pod move. And yeah, so the first trade that has to happen is Young to Massimo. Now, should you go to a perceived keeper to a rookie, basically? Never, not really. But Massimo has to come in and Young has to go. So regardless of what happens, that's a trade. Now that means we need to get a keeper in another line because we don't really want to go backwards. So we need to get Tom Powell in. We still have Caulfield and also we'll fix this captaincy. Now we need to get Tom Powell in. Who goes for Tom Powell? So none of these guys. Clark, no. Got a 16 system, so what's his break even? It's -3 and they have Dangerfield out, so look, I wouldn't be upset if you didn't have Clark, but it's not worth trading if you have him. Sanders, obviously no. Roberts, obviously no. Carroll has a -69 break even, no. Berry has a -3 break even. I think he's a sub risk though. So, and job security, I'm not sure is there. 8% owned, I think people jumped when Huswaite wasn't named. Look at the forward line. I don't want to get Billings -34. I'm not getting rid of him. Jordan is not ready to go yet. He might have to go next week, but I'd like to hold him for West Coast, but we'll just see what we need to do. Harley Reid, -24 break even. I mean, I'll probably get rid of him early, but not with a -24 break even. Sexton, you could, but the way our trades work, I don't think we're going to have money for that. And if he returns to halfback, he could spike score, which I think he will. Can't get rid of Cadman, can't break even. Can't go to Cadman, can't go to Wilson. So it's either Sexton, Reid, or Berry. I think it's Berry. If he does well, I hope he does, and we trade him, so be it. But if he gets subbed, then we're screwed. So, or if he doesn't even play. So the one that comes in is Tom Powell. Now, how are we supposed to get McKercher in? Probably the only one is it's Reid or Sexton. But then we're left with 2 dead defender rookies plus Marty Hoare. So we need to fix something. This would be so much easier if we could get McKercher in defense, but yeah. Tell me I'm screwed without McKercher, that's fine, because I probably am. But we're going to go for somebody else instead. So we're going to look at the Saints. I did mention this on the podcast. Brad Crouch out meant Marcus Winhager went into the midfield. Crouch is out for 6 to 8 weeks, and he's underdone anyway, so I'm not sure he's best 22 at the moment, just because he's underdone. At his best, he would be. And it looks like Wendy's taken that role. And they've upset Ross as CBAs, and Zach Jones as well. I think Jones, you would think he has managed time on ground. Let's just check fan footy. Let's check fan footy for a second. St Kilda. Did they lose on the weekend? They did. No, that's round 1. No, round 2. Doesn't have round 2. Oh, maybe we just go straight to the website then. That's the wrong fan footy. St Kilda. Collingwood. Oh, they did versus pretty weak midfield in Collingwood. So, yeah, 81% talk is pretty good. 16 contested, 7 clangers. So disposal was a bit of an issue. Gave away 3 frees. Oh, what was Zach Jones' tog? He was sub 48%. So with his durability, I don't think giving him high togs really an option. And then Seb Ross, 76 togs. Not that super high. So we saw last, I'm not saying this correlates, but just as an example, we saw last year when Dunkley left, you know, he took a lot of clearances, a lot of tackles, a lot of contested ball. What happened with Dunkley left? Bond averaged basically 130. Libba, if you take out the concussion game, averaged 120. And if you look at Windy's history with CBAs, so you got a few here, but these games here, I looked it up before. Crouch was going 120s, and I think Steele would have been playing too. So I don't know how much you can take from these games. Didn't score super well. But this game here, he scored 85. and that was with Brad Crouch going off. Now that Crouch is out of that rotation, I think the tackles and stuff are there for him. The clearances are there for him. So we're going to make Windy play. Now, it is a bit of a no man's land pick, and I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying when best 22 comes back, we might have that extra back rookie off. So, like a Zach Williams, I don't really trust on the field. That also fixes up a dead rookie, and Winhager's break even is 15. So, and his VFL numbers are not too bad. I think he averaged 116 fantasy in the VFL. So, is this a necessary risk? Probably not, but I think this is what I'm going to do. Bit of a pod play. So, he'll hope, all going well, he'll be my D7 M9 for the year, and we'll just upgrade around him, and he'll make money, and if we need to get rid of him, then we can. But it looks to me like he is a CBA mid. I mean, 83% CBAs. Was that 81% TOG? 81% TOG. Basically second fiddle midfielder. Now, does he stay there? I think so. I think it'd be silly not to. If he doesn't, well, then we're screwed. But, Mateus, they've taken out. Owens is a forward. I mean, they're still relying on Seb Ross and Zach Jones. So, to me, like, how can he not play in there? And we'll see what happens with Crouch as he gets over his injuries. So, gone basically Windy over Mc. We've paid 100k extra. If Windy matches McKercher, I think I'll be happy, and I think that's possible. However, we've paid an extra 100k, but it is a defender slot, so that's what we're going to do this week. The defense looks a little bit more stable. All we're doing is following the CBAs, really. So both Winhager and Power look like they're going to be second rotation mids with 80% TOG. So I'm not going to pass on that. And that's how we'll line up. Next week, we'll look at Sam Darcy, Finn McRae, and maybe we can force in Zach Butters, because that's the hardest watch possible, not owning Butters. But I suppose I forgot to add like a Butters Sarong on the trade-in list. So I think they're probably 6. I think you prioritize cash gen first. I'd probably put them there. Because while it's good to have them now in points, I think if you have like a bad rookie, these guys probably make 200k. In the long term, you might be down 150, 200k if you're not correcting a dead rookie, for example. So, yeah. But yeah. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. Let me know what trades you're doing. I mean, you don't have to tell me that passing on McKercher is dumb. I know that, and I don't think you should. You definitely shouldn't do it, but just, it's hard. Like, I'm trading, I think for money wise, it'll work out for me long term. So just because we're getting rid of dead rookies instead of rookies that are making money. Oh, and then we have to bench Green this week. I think Wilson, I guess. Hang on, Wilson will go forward. And then we can loop. Yeah, it's going to be a tough week. We can loop Carroll with Jai Clark, so that'll be fun. We can field hopefully a full 22. Oh, we can also loop Zach Williams with Marty Hoare. Although I have a feeling Hoare will do well. Our defenders don't do well against Port, but we can loop Zach Williams and Marty Hoare with each other. So that's how it will go. Thank you for watching. And yeah, next week, Sam Darcy, Finn McRae, maybe a Butters, maybe a defender. So we get rid of Zach Reed instead of a good rookie. So yeah, we'll pick between a defender and Zach Butters. Week after, we'll deal with Grundy. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but we'll see. But that's it from me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.